So, hello everyone, this is the Promotory channel. Today we're going to repair the YAMZ-534 engine. The repair won't be complete, the engine is still in the vehicle and the vehicle is over a pit. We'll be installing a new piston assembly. That's what will be repaired. The cylinder head has already been disassembled. We had the mating surface machined and 0.06 millimeters removed. I'll also be replacing the exhaust valve guides. There are 8 of them here. And also the exhaust valves themselves, also 8 pieces. As for the intake valves, I'll just lap them in place. Each valve is already marked. I'll also be replacing the connecting rod bearings. Here we have the rod bearings, and I'll also try to replace the main bearings on the spot as much as I can manage. Well, in principle it should work out, of course. It's all inconvenient and a real hassle. So we can see the condition of the connecting rod bearings. And not only is there wear, but there are also scuffs. It looks like metal shavings are going through the system. That's the condition of the connecting rod bearings, and that's the condition of the main bearings. We opened one cap just to see what condition they're in and decided to replace them. So I usually don't take on engines like this, but this is a friend of mine who asked for help. That means he's removing and installing everything himself. My job is just to replace the bearings, the pistons, and to torque the head and adjust the valves. He'll install everything else himself. Why are you taking this engine apart? So this car was bought recently. The customer used it for a while, about 10,000 kilometers, I guess. The engine is blowing oil through the breather and there are some issues with the turbo. So they decided to remove the cylinder head, took it off and checked for wear. I immediately saw that the ring was broken. I think it's the second cylinder. You can tell by the wear that the ring is broken. And here we can see another cylinder with a broken ring. That's the fourth one. And this is the second cylinder. It was decided to buy a new piston assembly and install it because the liners are worn out and the pistons as well. Well, the skirts are still more or less okay. There are, of course, some scuffs and scratches, but this groove here is worn out for the top compression ring, and you can see how much play there is. That's why it was decided to buy a new piston assembly. So I've just cleaned it, and what I see here is the YAMZ logo, and on the other side of the piston there's a Kolban-Schmidt casting mark, Evo. I think these pistons are still factory originals, meaning Kolban-Schmidt casts and manufactures the pistons for the YAMZ-534. We now have a new YAMZ piston assembly labeled original. Well, this isn't really my area, domestic diesel engines, so I don't know much about the parts. We just work with whatever parts the customer buys. Like the bearings we have here, also YAMZ valves made in Turkey. Again, I don't know what brand it is. I opened and checked it. Just a regular valve, well packaged and looks fine, but I don't know how it'll perform. I have little experience with the YAMZ-534. We only removed the head at the pit, replaced the gasket, and that was it. I haven't really worked with these engines. I do know that our school PAZ buses run with these engines, and they also had problems with the exhaust gas recirculation. Here, I removed it from this head. It's lying over there. I'll take it apart later and replace the seals. We removed the exhaust gas recirculation to replace the seals and gaskets. And after reassembly, we didn't do anything else. But the engine started misfiring after putting it back together. It didn't respond to the gas pedal. It idled smoothly, but didn't react to the gas pedal at all. Many diagnosticians examined it, but in the end, they took the car to the official service, where they found the issue was simply a program crash. I don't know what they did there or how it ended. I'm just sharing cases from my experience. There were also cases when, on school PAZ buses with these YAMZ-534 engines, the system started getting air at around 25 to 30,000 kilometers, and when they were taken apart, there was just through cavitation in the liners, and this wasn't an isolated case. I saw 2 such engines in my practice, and I also saw such videos on the internet, on YouTube, where after a short mileage that is, with low mileage, there is through cavitation of the liners. And obviously, this means taking the engine apart, a full repair, replacing the piston group. Still, if anyone has experience working with this engine with repairs, write in the comments. How do you find the engine? What interesting cases have you had? And also, has anyone encountered such a problem where after 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 kilometers on a new engine, there is through cavitation of the liners? So, what am I going to do now? Well, first I'll unpack the piston group, install the pistons on the connecting rods, mark everything in place, install the bearings, then I'll go work on the channel. There, I need to replace the main bearings and also remove the liners from the block and clean them. That's all there. I don't know, on the channel. Of course, it's inconvenient to film there, but I'll try to get some shots, record something, get some footage. Anyway, I'm getting started. So next I'll install the liners, install the pistons, the bearings, tighten everything up, and then I'll move on to repairing the cylinder head. And the customer, the owner of the car, will be installing the oil pan in the meantime. He'll assemble something in the pit while I assemble the cylinder head. I'll also demonstrate installation, tightening, and valve adjustment. And of course, the first start, the most interesting part, the first start after the repair for the customer, ET. I also warned that there can be such cases with the software on this engine. Well, at least, I don't know, maybe it was just a one-time case for me, but at least it happened to me. This has happened in practice, so I warned him that such problems are possible. At the very least, you definitely need to disconnect the negative terminal when removing the sensors. Well, I don't know. He said he would do it all himself. I'm even curious to see how it turns out, whether everything will work well or if there will be some problems. That's all. So that's the scope of work we have. Let's get started. So we see a new piston, basically the same thing. We see the YAMZ logo, but there's no Cold & Smith logo. There's no casting, so no Cold & Schmidt casting. There's a blank number, 1295, plus on the old piston and the new one. We also see the blank number, but there's no Cold & Schmidt logo. But otherwise everything seems to be the same. The combustion chamber is the same. We can also see that there's a recess only under some of the valves, most likely under the exhaust valves, meaning that's how the timing phases are set up. So some of the valves can actually come into contact with the piston. The bearing shells have locks on opposite sides, so the shell for the connecting rod cap can't fit in the rod itself. But apparently here, just like on Mercedes and MAN engines, the bearing shell and the sputter are different because the load in the connecting rod is higher on a turbocharged engine. So a different shell is used. Clearly, it's impossible to mix them up here. So the connecting rods here are fractured, meaning they come as a single piece at first, then they are split by a blow, and the cap fits only in its original place on that connecting rod. So, well, it's clear that these connecting rods can be restored just by replacing the bolts. So, during this assembly, I saw that two bolts were in this condition with the edges already stripped, meaning the engine. Someone previously worked on it and ordered two new bolts, as shown. Two new ones, and it turns out 6 old ones. And they were all installed with thread locker as well. Now, I'll clean the threads on these 6 old bolts that we're keeping, and I'll also install them with thread locker. Since it was here, let it stay here. Basically, it won't do any harm here, but since it was installed with thread locker, I'll also use thread locker when installing it. So I realized I forgot to weigh the pistons, so I took them off the connecting rods again. Now we're going to weigh them. So here's the one that's from a different batch. I don't remember if I mentioned it on camera or not. 3 packages are from 2024 and 1 package is from 2025. One piston is about 4 or 5 grams heavier, weighing 2 kilograms and 5 grams. We obviously don't pay attention to those, so I put the pistons back on the connecting rods. Then I go to the channel to see what we can do there. I'll install the sleeves. I removed the old ones, cleaned everything with a brush, and put in new seals. I coated everything with special assembly paste. The seals came in a set with the sleeves. As you can see, the repair is happening here and everything's covered in oil, antifreeze, dust and dirt. Obviously now I'm gonna blow all this out, wipe it down and degrease it. But basically I'll do what I can, but even if I really want to, it's impossible to make everything perfect here. So next, what I'm gonna do now is try to replace the main bearings. I'll loosen all 5 fasteners. Well, actually one cap is already off, so I'll loosen the other 4 so that the crankshaft drops down just a little, literally half a millimeter. I'll use a copper tube to knock each bearing out toward the lock, and after that I'll wipe everything down, coat it with oil, and install the new bearings from the lock side as well. So today I want to replace the main bearings and install the pistons, and then tomorrow the customer will install the oil pickup and oil pan while I'll repair the cylinder head. Well, now I'll try to record it. I'll set up the camera somewhere and show you. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but at least I'll show you on other engines. I've changed it on the spot before. That's how I did it. On this one, I don't know, but it should work out. That's how I removed the bearing shell. I'm opening the box, and in the same way we put it back in place. So I've replaced the bearing shells on one journal, and now I'll do the same on the other 4. So I'm stopping the recording because you can already see the conditions here. I didn't bother setting up the lighting here or anything else. I have a flashlight and that's enough for the camera. Obviously it's not much light. So, I'm replacing the exhaust valve guide bushings. I made a drift out of a bolt. Just knocked out one bushing and measured it. The old diameter is 12.02, the new diameter is also 12.02. I always check the thickness of the bushings with a micrometer because I've had cases. One time the guide was of a thicker diameter and as a result a crack appeared on the head. So I always measure the thickness of the old guide bushing and the new one. I replaced all 8 guides. As I already mentioned, the exhaust valves are new. I cleaned the intake valves, and as usual, each one is marked for its own place. So now I'll get out all the cutters I have and start trying to ream, because I don't have the exact cutters for this engine. I don't think it'll be a problem to find the right one. I have many types with different diameters, so we'll find one that fits. So I'm already lapping the valves. The first, second and third cylinders are done. Only the fourth is left. Well, obviously it takes a bit longer with the exhaust valves. All this is happening because the seats were rimmed. I think I didn't show it on camera. First removed the working surface, the bevel, and then made the upper and lower edges narrower. There were no issues with the intake valves. So literally in 1 minute, I just applied the paste. And in about 30 to 40 to 50 seconds, everything is done. It's shiny. I remove the paste, wash it off, wipe everything with oil, and mark each valve. The intake valves are marked with a punch, not a punch, but with number bits, and the exhaust ones. This is just the lower one. The head was in a different position when I marked them. So this one is the upper one. That's why I write the number 3 here on top, and now I won't mix them up. So on this valve, the marking is at the bottom, lower, and on this valve, the marking is at the top, upper. That's it. In this way, I grind 4 more valves, 1 cylinder, then assemble the head, and then we'll install the head onto the car. So we see the 4th upper and the 4th lower. I immediately apply the paste. Definitely oil on the valve stem. Now we hear a squeak, meaning the paste is out and only a dry layer remains. And now, in general, you can feel that the valve is turning tightly, it's rotating, and in just a few more seconds, this squeak will disappear and the valve will start to rotate freely and easily. Now there's a shine on both the seat and the valve. There is a dry, continuous track on the valve, a little bit matte, and on the seat itself we also see a shine all around. Both of these intake valves have been lapped. Now I'll also remove the paste, clean them, oil them, mark the bottom and top, and I still have 2 exhaust valves left to do. Of course, it will take me a bit longer, maybe about 7 to 10 minutes per valve. Next, I'll be installing the oil seals and I have to remove the spring. It feels like these seals aren't even the original ones. I mean, they're from some other car for a valve with a smaller diameter. Here we have the valve. As you can see, it fits in here with a really tight fit. Well, I don't know. In all the engines I've seen, I've never seen a cap fit onto a valve this tightly. So what do? I remove spring and made this tool from the drift I used to drive in the guides. I polished it a bit here, so it's smooth without any burrs or scratches. Then I put the cap on like this using a 10mm socket. I don't mean that the wrong caps are in this set. I mean that in general this engine uses caps that are actually taken from another model, from a different engine, and the old caps. When I was removing them, I also couldn't get the valves out through them, and the keepers would catch on this, well, on this ridge here, and just tear it up. I had to remove the valve stem seals before taking out the valves. This is my first time seeing something like this. Let me know in the comments if anyone has experienced this or works with these engines. Is it really like this? Alright, so I've assembled the cylinder head. Now I'll install the exhaust gas recirculation cooler. Here everything is already blocked off, meaning the exhaust gas recirculation is disabled. There's a block-off plate on the exhaust gases from the manifold, and there's also a block-off plate on the outlet. The cooler is just flushed with antifreeze, so the antifreeze still circulates through it. So I removed the old gaskets. Everything here is cleaned up as well. I prepared new gaskets from the set and got the bolts ready. Now I'm installing the cooler, this air intake manifold, this one here. So what else is special about this cylinder head? I didn't mention that the air intake manifold is built right into the cylinder head, so you just attach the outlet here and that's it. Well, I don't know, I don't think I've ever seen an engine where the air intake manifold is integrated into the cylinder head. So Volvo has a somewhat interesting system too, but they still have a manifold that can be removed. So while here we just have this 90-degree elbow fitting, and also there's a factory installed heater here, like a heating element with power cables coming to it, kind of like on a battery, no really thick ones. But we can also see that everything has already been disconnected. Everything's been removed. So next we'll need to install the head onto the engine. We still don't have the push rods there, but I've already prepared the valves. The rocker cover and the valve cover here are extremely thin. I mean, it bends just from pressing it with your finger. This is the thinnest plastic I've ever seen on an engine, especially for a valve cover. I think it's basically just a consumable part here because there's a breather built into it. Here you can see it. I don't know if it's removable or not. I haven't really looked into it. But I think if you need to replace the breather, you just replace the whole valve cover assembly. If you're familiar with these engines, let me know in the comments if that's true or not. We're also replacing 3 lifters. Their rollers are worn out, and accordingly the camshaft lobes are worn out as well. Ed, the customer, thought about it for a long time, wondering whether to leave it as is or remove the engine head, and in the end he decided to leave everything as it is. So how long will it last? Well, the lifters, obviously you can replace 3 of them, but there's nothing you can do about the cam lobes. There's already a couple of tenths of a millimeter worn off for sure. The wear has started to chip, so this will keep happening. It will keep chipping, maybe even the camshaft itself, and possibly the cam lobes again. Actually, these rollers will get chipped. Well, anyway, in any case, the customer decided to leave everything as it is. That's why the lifters aren't here yet. Beefcake, they'll only arrive on Monday. Today is Saturday, so I'll get everything ready today. And I'll be installing the cylinder head on Monday, and here as well the bridges on the valves and the cylinder head washers, or rather the bolts for the cylinder head mounts. I've also cleaned them.
Installed it. I'm tightening the cylinder head, all bolts to 100 Newton meters, then turning 90 degrees along the marks, 90 degrees across, and another 90 degrees along the marks. Install the cylinder head, tightening it. We're turning all the bolts with the wrench along the marks. No need to think anymore. Yeah, damn.
What are you doing? You were supposed to install the cylinder head like this. You put it on the wrong side. What are you doing? What are you doing to me? Come on.